ladies and gents, my name's Evolution and welcome to my channel. So today guys, we are riding the KTM Duke 390. Now I know this isn't the normal appearance for the channel, but the Yamaha MT-07 is currently in the workshop and they've kindly allowed me to have this as a courtesy bike. Now I'm just as eager to get out on the road as much as you guys are, so I'll make this introduction nice and short and snappy. But the reason I think it's going to make a fantastic video is because the 390 Duke is a A2 competitor. It's a very popular choice for the A2 license, and then of course they've recently just redesigned this model. You probably noticed the dead big giveaway is the fancy DRL headlight, and not to mention this piece of tech for the screen. So anyway, without further ado guys, let's go ahead and hop on the road, get some riding experience, first impressions, and what we'll do is we'll pull over a little bit later and then we can begin to review the tech specs, the brakes, the engine, and all those technical specifications that you guys may want and need to know. First and foremost, ladies and gents, I hope that you're all well, especially those of you who are riding. Take it easy, ride safe. The road and weather conditions aren't fantastic at the moment, and it's never pleasant to ride in the winter. And for those of you who are wondering, I know this isn't the Yamaha MT-07 and we will be returning back to flow as soon as possible, but at the moment she's just in the workshop getting some new parts fitted. So anyway, on to this beauty of a bike. I've not rid it for long. I've had it from the dealership and then rode it for about 5 miles, and that is where we are now, which in hindsight isn't all that much, but it's given me enough time just to get some first impressions and get comfortable with the brakes, the clutch, the throttle, because at the end of the day, although two wheels are two wheels, every bike's different in its own way, shape or form. So far though, it feels really nice. It's so agile, and although the MT-07 is a naked bike, this feels so much more upright. I kind of want to suggest that it feels like a supermoto, which is so weird because we're sitting on a naked. We're going to go with an in-between. We're going to call it a hybrid. It feels like a supermoto, but yeah, it has the presence of a naked. It's kind of a 50-50. To be honest, I quite like it. I am sitting more upright, and I think it's got something to do with the pegs positioning. My feet aren't at as much of an angle like they would be on a sports bike. Very easy and very comfortable to ride. It feels great. So for those of you who are wondering, this is a A2 motorcycle, so that means you can't ride it on a CVT license, but you don't need your full license either. This bike isn't restricted whatsoever, comes completely out the showroom, and its standard power meets the criteria. On that note, that's just one thing that's progressed so much over the last few years, is what you can get on smaller bikes nowadays. Like gadgets like this display and everything else, you wouldn't get this unless you was riding an expensive 600cc, 1000cc. They even offer this same model in a 125, and you still get all the new revisions like the dashboard and the headlight, which is just absolutely mad to think that those kind of things are available on such small bikes. Once upon a time they were just wheels and an engine. Well, that rear brake is nice. That's really nice to use. Pretty sure that I'm getting caught by every light, but to be honest, really don't mind because these brakes are phenomenal. One thing that I have noticed straight off the bat, it just completes the riding experience for me, is that the throttle is just so smooth. is so smooth. Look at that. It is just bang on. There's no juddering, there's no lumpiness. The throttle response is fantastic, and then that partnered up with this clutch, it is just so smooth. I don't know what it is about the clutch, whether it's just because it's a new bike. It feels very light and very hydraulic-y. I'm substantially impressed with the braking as well. The rear brake is spot on. The front brake's okay. I've not really put it to the test overly just because of the riding conditions, but I'm sure it'd probably pack a punch if you needed it to. Substantially lighter than some of the bikes I've been riding lately. It's a good in-between. I'd say weight-wise it's heavier than a 125, but it's nowhere near as heavy as the MT-07. I'll take you guys down to one of my favourite places, just nice and quiet. It's normally a nice, fantastic scene, but the weather's very grim today. Alright, so let's have a quick walk around. Well, ladies and gents, there you have it, the KTM Duke 390 first impressions. I'd say that pretty much concludes them there, and I've got to say, wow, just awesome. So far so good. I'm going to go through with you guys now the technical specifications, get down to the textbook details, but also we're going to have a nice little walk around as well. It gives me the opportunity to go through up close and personal with some of the components and the bike itself. So we're going to start with the front end of the bike, and then we're going to move our way backwards, slowly just highlighting and going through each item on the bike. Now, I think the first thing I wanted to start with is the front end, for the very reason it's been revised. We've got the new front headlight, which looks absolutely phenomenal in my opinion, and not only that, it's got the LED and DRLs built in, which is a substantial upgrade from before. It looks aggressive, it looks mean, and I think it just makes the front end of the bike look very unique. And on the terms of technology, one thing that I did want to point out is the subtle touches like the LED indicators. These don't often come standard on motorbikes. It's nice to see that you've got these, they're somewhat tinted, I'd say. They're smaller than your normal size as well. Just makes the front end look a little bit more discreet. And then also you've got these LED backlights in all of your indicators, horn, kill switch, all your instrument panel bits. It's all backlit, which, although it might be a little bit hard to see at the moment, especially because it's not night time, I think at night time these will make quite a substantial difference. It's not required, but it's just nice to have on a bike. And then this leads us on to the multifunctional display, and wow, look at that. So incredible that again you've got something like this available to you, especially, as I said, generally these kind of features aren't invested until you get onto the big litre bikes, 600-700 cc's. As you can see, it tells you everything and anything that you need to know. First and foremost, you get your little alerts like the side stand is down, or if the kill switch is on or off, which I think is a nice touch. You've got all the required information like your revs, your speed. It gives you a gear indicator, whether in neutral, first, second, third, fourth, fifth or sixth. Very good example there. It also adapts depending on the lighting conditions from daytime to nighttime. It's also got a fuel gauge and your temperature, and then your relevant bits and bobs on the left hand side here, which is more than you could ever need or require, but it's very nice bonus to have. Last of all, we can go into the menu here on the side, which is rather interesting. When you go into the motorcycle area, you have the option, not necessarily to change the riding modes, but you can control the ABS. You can turn it off, you can leave it on road mode, or you can put it into supermoto. Other sections like info just have your trip details and warnings, and then your settings and preferences will have your relevant details such as the units, the shift light, the clock, the date, the units, other bits and bobs there. But all in all, the dashboard does wonders. It's a bit excessive, but I'm not going to complain. And upon startup, you get the ready to race screen along with all your normal indicators, neutral light, engine light, ABS, high beam, oil, everything like that is there. And then finishing off the front end, we've got these lovely big discs and calipers as well. I know that Yamaha and such normally use companies like Brembo. I'll be honest, I don't recognise this manufacturer, but I think it's who KTM would normally use. And to be fair, they pack a punch, so I'm not going to knock those whatsoever. And then these are buddied up on fluorescent orange alloys. The rims are very, very nice. In terms of your tyre, what rubber we're running, we've actually got a set of Metzelers, which is very nice considering, again, this is stock tyres. It's nice to see that a big manufacturer's been put on these. And in terms of tyre sizes, we're running 110 by 70 on a 17-inch rim. Moving on to the side of the bike, I just want to quickly highlight the radiator. So you can see the radiator sitting here behind these nice plastic covers. And behind that, you've got your radiator fan. It's come on a few times during riding, and it seems to make a horrible whine. It's very, very loud. And it's odd for it to be coming in or coming on in such low temperatures. It's not like it's a hot day at all. So I wonder if the engine does run quite hot and the radiator fan has to compensate for that. But I did find that it made a very loud whining noise, so a little bit of a negative from me, but perhaps that's just, in my instance, I've got a noisy fan. Moving down to this beauty, the engine itself. So KTM Duke puts out about 40 brake horsepower, and it's a single cylinder liquid cooled engine, and of course that's a 4-stroke. It really does pack a punch, and the throttle delivery, despite being a single cylinder, which are normally quite grunty, that's smoothed out by the throttle control very nicely. For me personally, I'm quite inclined to see how this would sound with an exhaust system. That's just my preference. I like my bikes to be noisy, so for me the exhaust sound put that down. But to be honest, it's not often that you do find standard bikes have a nice exhaust note. Moving on to the bodywork, the fairings and the chassis, you see it's got this nice two-tone orange and then white subframe. It feels really sturdy and it's got a nice finish, so there's no complaints there from me. Moving on to the rear of the bike, we've got this nice white suspension coil. I presume that's also a WP rear shock absorber. It seems nice and stiff, it's not very bouncy. Again, no complaints. It's not bad, it's not fantastic. I'd say it's just above average. Moving on to the exhaust system, as I said, it'd be nice to hear this bike with a bit of tone, a bit of noise. At the moment, it sounds very standard because, of course, it's got the stock system, but it does the job. You can see it's got this nice giant catalytic converter so that it meets the Euro 4 compliance, and the exhaust header actually wraps around the left side of the engine and then up. Moving further around to the rear, we've got a dual swing arm, which is pretty standard. I wouldn't expect a single-sided swing arm on a bike of this caliber. Again, discs look very good. Rear brake was very, very nice actually. I'd give that well above average on the rear brake response. And in regards to the rims and the tyres, we're running Metzeler again on a 17-inch fluorescent orange rim, and the tyre size is 150 rear by 60. Moving around to the other side of the bike, the left side with the stand, we've got a black sprocket, which I think is a nice addition. The standard silver ones normally go really rusty and look very dirty very easily. So on the subject of gearing, in my opinion, the shifts felt very short when you're putting the power down, but it complemented the riding, and I think they're very well balanced. Now, I know there are certain things I've not covered, purely just because I don't want to make the technical specs overwhelming and boring. A few things worthwhile noting is that the mirrors, in my opinion, didn't seem very great, and as I said, the radiator fan is very loud. But when you put those aside and you look at the positives, like the dashboard, the little electronics technology extras like the headlight and all the little bonuses you've got around the instruments, and then you partner that up with the good quality brakes, the good quality tyres, the nice slipper clutch, can you really go wrong? I don't think you really can. Anyway, ladies and gents, let's do a quick and final startup. It's safe to say we've pretty much covered everything I can in such a short space of time. Anything else that I might comment on would be somewhat unfair, because ideally I'd like to get some more experience on this bike to have a more fair comment and feedback for you guys. It's getting quite dark now as well. Unfortunately, the winter pulling in on us means we get the darker evenings. I'm going to take this opportunity now just to say thank you very much for tuning in and staying till the very end of the video today. I hope you guys have found it informative and enjoyed coming on board the KTM Duke 390. Don't forget that there are a few other models of the Duke available, especially in this new revision. You've got the 125 version and you've also got the 790. So if you're looking for something this is a good in between, but if you're looking for something a little bit less or a little bit more, then there's options there for you. If you've got any comments, questions or feedback, please don't hesitate to use the comment section. I will always reply as soon as I possibly can. Anyway, ladies and gents, that's Evo out. Take it easy out on the road for those who are riding during the winter, and I'll see you guys in the next one.